Welcome back. Georgia State Senator Colton Moore calling for the impeachment of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis after she indicted President Trump. Moore sent a letter to Governor Brian Kemp requesting a special session of Congress to review her decision, claiming that this is a crisis of state affairs. Former President Trump, meanwhile, is canceling his press conference on the Georgia election next week. Instead, he wrote this on Truth Social. His attorneys will present, quote, irrefutable and overwhelming evidence of election fraud and irregularities in formal legal filings. Joining me right now is Georgia Congressman Barry Loudermilk. He's a member of the House Financial Services and Administration Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. What is your reaction to this state senator wanting to take down Fani Willis?
Well, it's very interesting, Maria, that is something that can be done through Georgia law. As someone who served in the state house and the state senate, I'm familiar with that. It would require, at this point, a special session, which would be the decision of the governor. I think this is an uphill battle for him, but I think the impeachment, if it's successful, the danger isn't about necessarily what could be done to Trump. It's what could be done to future candidates, future elections, because this clearly will politicize elections, because what she's claiming is something that is done within state law, challenging an election, is now criminal if you're not successful in the challenge. I mean, they're saying if you don't like the outcome of an election, then this could be criminalized if you follow state law and you file appeals and you go through the process. And so I think that's where the real danger is what will be done in future elections if this goes through. And unlike other charges, these hold a minimum prison sentence of 5 years. So this is very significant. It's something I think the legislature does need to be looking at very closely.
Well, let me ask you this, Congressman, because former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich shared a story on the Charlie Kirk show the other day, and he said that he has a reliable source who told him that the White House called Fulton County DA Fani Willis demanding that she make an indictment of President Trump on Monday as opposed to Tuesday. He said he has a reliable source that's told him the White House directed her to make the announcement of an indictment on Monday. What is the ramification if, in fact, the White House was working with Fani Willis on this?
Well, I think there'd be great ramifications there, especially with her case, because part of the key evidence that she's bringing up is this phone call between Donald Trump and Brad Raffensperger, the Georgia Secretary of State, that they're claiming he put undue influence on an elected official to do something that they're claiming was illegal. But at the same time, if this is true, I think that's very damning, because now you've got a sitting president calling a district attorney, putting political pressure on her to do something. And so I think that could really start unraveling this case for them.
Fox News polls reveals 80% of voters believe that the economy is in fair or poor condition. Only 20% would describe the economy as excellent or good. More than half say that President Biden has made the economy worse since taking office, Congressman. Let's talk issues for a moment, because this upcoming election is so, I mean, the issues coming out of all of these investigations are just incredible, and it has taken the focus away from the actual issues. Nobody wants to see this kind of corruption, if true, in the White House, that's for sure. So that's taking a bigger importance as opposed to the issues like economy, inflation. What are your thoughts on the policies coming out of this administration?
Well, the policies have been devastating. I mean, I did some traveling over the weekend, and just looking at the prices of fuel is unbelievable, and they're going up. And if you look at what the president has done, and it's clear he is the one that's caused these high fuel prices. He took historic actions in his first week in office with a historic number of executive orders, a lot of them targeting the petroleum industry in the U.S., and we saw prices skyrocket. When fuel prices go up, it affects the price of everything. Everything. You take a loaf of bread, from harvesting the wheat to planting it, to hauling the wheat to the processor, the baking. Everything involves fuel. And when you raise the price of fuel, it raises the price of everything. And Americans are paying up to $700 more for goods that they were just buying back during the Trump administration. So this is a real impact on, not only on Americans, but also on our national defense, because even defense becomes more expensive.
Yeah, you know, I was talking with Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day when she joined me on Sunday Morning Futures, and she made a great point. She said that, because she used to have a construction company before she entered Congress, and she said that back in 2020, the refrigerant coolant that you put in your refrigerator, I'm sorry, you put in your air conditioning, it's refrigerant coolant, that 20 pounds of that coolant back in 2020 was $45. Today, that same 20 pounds of that coolant for your air conditioner is $270. So, you know, just to keep your home cool during these incredibly hot days of August is costing Americans heavily because of the price of oil and gas and because of the climate change agenda.
And the climate change agenda is something that people overlook a lot. When you look at government regulations, I remember back when I first ran for office in 2014, I was meeting with home builders, and they were telling me then that about 60% of the cost of a new home is due to government regulation. And when you get an agenda like this, very radical and aggressive climate agenda, it's going to affect the price of everything. Look at what the president is doing now. He wants to shut down your gas stoves. It was just a few years ago they were promoting getting off electric, going to gas. It's safer, it's cheaper, it's better for the environment. Now that has changed. Gas is terrible. And so it's going to get to the point where they won't even want you to let you have a campfire at a state park anymore.
Well, top White House lawyer Stuart Dellery, meanwhile, is leaving the Biden administration next month. Biden released a statement calling Dellery a trusted advisor. No replacement has been named yet, but this all comes out in the middle of dribs and drabs of new information from the House Oversight Committee about the Biden family, about Joe Biden using pseudonyms and different alias names. And a new report is claiming that President Biden is, quote, very obsessed with all the negative coverage of Hunter, so much so that advisors and aides won't even mention it in front of the president, Congressman.
Yeah, I've said for a long time that you're going to see the beginning of the end of the Biden administration when you start seeing the house of cards fall one card at a time and people separating themselves. Look, this attorney has been a trusted Democrat attorney for multiple administrations, and you see what's happening right now. We're getting closer to the truth. I think there's just too much heat in the kitchen, and he needs to protect his own reputation. And this is just my opinion of what's going on. I think you may see more and more people start to leave the Bidens as we get closer and closer to taking some real action. And I think it's clear we're heading toward an impeachment inquiry, which then will lead to articles of impeachment. But I do think we need to do this in a proper way. So when we do get to that point, and if we do impeachment, then we have such strong evidence that it's going to put the Senate in a position where they just can't ignore it, that they're going to have to take action on this.
All right, Congressman, we're going to be waiting and watching all of that when you all return to Washington the week of September 12th. We appreciate your time this morning. Congressman Barry Loudermilk joining us in Georgia. Thank you, sir.